Good morning, you two. It's Miss Cotterill here. I hope you're all okay. Let's find out what we're going to do in today's lesson. Okay, so today we are going to do some science and we're going to have a think about living things and their habitats. So can you remember what a living thing is? And what do living things need to survive? Well done, that's right. A living thing is something that is alive. It might be a plant or an animal or a human. And it needs its basic needs to be met in order for it to stay alive and healthy. So it needs food, water, a habitat that's suitable, appropriate for it. It needs warmth, shelter. Okay, so depending on what living thing it is, depends on how its needs are met in its habitat. And today, specifically, we are going to look at what a living thing might eat. Okay, now different living things eat different things, and we can put them into groups depending on what they eat. We can put them into a certain category. So, if they are a meat eater and they eat meat, they are called a carnivore. Can you say carnivore? If they are like a koala bear and they eat leaves or fruit or seeds or plants, they're called a herbivore. My turn, herbivore. And then if they eat meat and plants, then they're called an omnivore. Omnivore. So we can group living things into categories. We can say they're either a carnivore if they eat meat, a herbivore if they eat plants, or an omnivore if they eat both. Let's find out a bit more about these different categories or groups. Okay, so carnivores. Carnivores are animals that only eat meat. Okay, so they're animals that catch other animals and eat them. So for example, a shark might eat smaller fishes, or a lion or a crocodile, okay? They eat meat. And because they only eat meat, those animals can be grouped into carnivores. Okay, these type of animals, such as a horse or a cow or a rabbit, are herbivores. And herbivores are animals that only eat plants. Okay, now a type of plant is a herb, and it gives you a clue because herb is the first few letters in the word herbivore. Okay, and the animals that are herbivores might eat flowers, fruit that grows from the ground or on a tree, nuts, grass, or even wood. Okay, so they only eat plants, they don't eat animals. Okay, so Ernie the school rabbit is a herbivore because he eats plants. Okay, now hedgehogs, bears, and some humans are omnivores because they eat both. They eat meat, so they eat other animals, and they eat plants. Okay, so for example, a chicken is an omnivore because a chicken might eat seeds, so it eats the plants, but it also eats other animals like worms. Okay, so it's an omnivore. Now, I like to remember this as omnivore starts with om, okay? And I like to think that omnivores are animals that eat meat and plants. They nom nom nom. They eat lots of different things. Okay. So let's have a look at what our job is going to be today. Okay, so I want you to have a think. Which category do you think we as humans might be in? Are we carnivores? Are we herbivores? Or are we omnivores? Do we eat meat? Do we eat plants? Do we eat both? Well done if you said omnivore. Now, most of us eat both meat and plants. We might eat fruit and vegetables, seeds and nuts, but we might also eat meat, okay? Some of us might be vegetarians, and in which case we won't eat meat. So then you would be a herbivore, okay? So let's look at today's target. Okay, your target is I can identify where a living thing might get its food. Okay, so whether it gets it from meat and animals, whether it gets it from plants, whether it eats both plants and animals. Okay, and in order for you to achieve this target, you will need to identify the foods that a living thing might eat. You will need to understand what an omnivore, a carnivore, and a herbivore is and what they eat. Okay, so let's find out what you're going to do. Okay, I would like you to get a blank sheet of paper from your home learning pack and a pencil. Okay, and you are going to draw this diagram, and this diagram is called a Venn diagram. Okay, and it's basically two circular shapes that are joined together. Okay, that overlap. So on your piece of paper, I would like you to draw the circles. Okay, make sure they're overlapping, but you need to make sure they fill the whole page. Okay, so you've got enough room. Once you've drawn the circles, the Venn diagram like mine, I would then like you to put the word carnivore, omnivore and herbivore in them just like I have. Okay, pause the video here so you've got time to do it. Okay, now that you have drawn your Venn diagram and you've written carnivore, omnivore and herbivore in them, you are going to have a think about certain animals. Now at the top I have put the cheetah, and with the word carnivore, the boy that's eating plants and meat, and he's an omnivore, and then the koala bear who eats plants as the herbivore at the top to help remind you what the different words mean, okay? And then I have put the correct pictures and word of an animal into the right group. So, carnivore, I've thought polar bear, and I know a polar bear eats other animals. So I've drawn a little picture of a polar bear, and I've wrote polar bear underneath the picture, and I've put it in the carnivore group because I know polar bears eat meat and a carnivore is someone that eats meat, so I've put it in that category. Okay, then over in the herbivore part, I've drawn a squirrel and I've wrote the word squirrel because I know squirrels eat nuts and seeds and other plants, and herbivores are animals that eat plants only, so I put that in that part. Okay, and then in the middle, in the omnivore category, I've drawn a badger and wrote the word badger because I know a badger eats plants and animals, okay? So let's see what animals you're going to have a go at drawing and writing in the correct category, the correct part of the Venn diagram. Okay, on the left-hand side of the page, I have got 6 animals. We've got snail, owl, cheetah, duck, hedgehog, horse. Okay. And you will need to draw them and write their name in the correct spot, whether they're a carnivore if they eat meat, an omnivore if they eat plants and meat, and a herbivore if they eat plants only. Okay. To help you, I have put a little sentence underneath that describes what they eat. Okay, so that will give you a clue as to whether they're carnivores, omnivores, or herbivores. Use your Fred talk to read them. Pause the video here so you've got time to do it. Okay, let's check. In the carnivore part of the Venn diagram, you should have drawn and written owl and cheetah, because they eat other animals. They're meat eaters, so they are carnivores. So if you've got an owl or a cheetah in the carnivore category, give them a tiny tick. If you haven't, and you've got them in another category, draw an arrow so that they go in the right place. Well done. Let's have a look at the herbivore category. In the herbivore category, you should have put the snail and the horse. So if you put the snail and the horse, give yourself a tick. Okay, if you haven't, pop them in for me. And we know they're herbivores because they eat plants. Okay, and the middle part of the Venn diagram, the omnivore, the animals that eat both plants and animals, you should have put the duck and the hedgehog. So well done if you got those right. Okay, let's see if you're up for a challenge. On your piece of paper underneath your Venn diagram or on the back if you've not got any room, can you write a sentence explaining the difference between a herbivore, a carnivore and an omnivore? And can you add any of your own living things to the Venn diagram? Pause the video here so you've got time to have a go at the challenge. Well done everyone, you've worked really hard. And today you had to go identifying where a living thing might get its food from. So you needed to be able to recognise the foods that a living thing might eat. You then needed to understand what foods an omnivore, a carnivore and a herbivore might eat. And then you needed to decide whether a living thing was an omnivore, a carnivore or a herbivore. Okay? So on your piece of paper, I would like you to have a go at self-assessing, having a think about how you did. If you got them all right and feel really confident that you can identify whether an animal is an omnivore, a carnivore or a herbivore, then I would like you to draw the big emoji that's got the smiley face, the cheesy grin, okay? If you got most of them right and you think you're fairly confident, draw the normal smiley face emoji. And if you're a little bit unsure and think you need a bit more practice, I would like you to draw the thinking emoji, okay? Well done, everyone. Okay, remember that I would love to see your work, so maybe ask a grown-up if you can take a photo of it and send it by WhatsApp on the school mobile, or email us the work on the Year 2 email address, or if you do go out for a daily walk, maybe pop it in the school postbox on the school drive, okay? But make sure you get permission from a grown-up too. Well done everyone, you've worked really hard. Take care, stay safe and I'll see you soon. Bye.